Can you smoke frozen ribs before you thaw them? I'm going to find out today. That's right, I'm going to smoke some solid frozen ribs in my Char-Broil Electric Smoker today. Now, I've never done this before, and I looked online and I've seen that other people have done it with varying degrees of success. It should work, but I want to try it a specific way. Obviously, when they're frozen solid like this, you're not going to get a good rub on there that's going to adhere, and even with some sort of binder, which I don't like to use, when it's frozen, it's just not going to hold, I don't think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the traditional 3-2-1 method, but I'm going to put them in and go for an hour to soften them up, then put the rub on. Another 2 hours, then we'll wrap them, then 1 more hour, maybe 2, depending on how tender they are, and we should have some good ribs, hopefully. So let's get these in. So the way I have my smoker set up today is I'm going to be using just 2 racks. It's 1 rack of ribs that I've cut in half. And FYI, I cut them when they were frozen. That was not fun. I also have not preheated the smoker. I'm going to put these ribs in and we're going to start it up from cold. I have my chip box about 2/3 full of hickory chips, and that should carry me through a couple hours. If I need to add more to this, I will. It's not recommended, and you really have to take precautions because this is very hot. Now with the ribs frozen, sometimes it's hard to tell which side is bone side down, and you can see that this thing is just frozen in a wrinkled position because it was kind of stuffed in my freezer. One more above it. Now I have my pit temperature probe right up here on this rack. Nothing else below. I'm not adding any water in the water pan down here because there's going to be enough moisture coming off of this. Let's close this up and turn it on. The ambient temperature today is fairly cool. It's like 61, 62 degrees. You can see what the temperature of the smoker is right there, and it's dropping a little because I just put those 2 hunks of frozen meat in there. But let's get this turned on so it can start thawing and cooking. Turn it on. We're going to set our temperature. We're going to set that to 225. I'm going to set our timer for 10 hours, even though it's not going to take that long. I always set it well past what it's going to take. And we're cooking. So now I'm going to wait. They should be fairly well thawed in about 1 hour. At that point, I'm going to take them out for just a couple minutes, put a rub on them, put them right back in for another 2 hours. And then once we hit that 3-hour mark, we're going to wrap them in foil. Don't think I'm going to add any more liquid to it. I may, but I don't think so at this point. And then again, after those 2 hours in foil, we'll take them out, and they're going to have probably 1 hour to 2 hours to go. These are spare ribs. I didn't mention that before. Full-on spare ribs. They're not trimmed down to St. Louis, so there's a lot of meat in there. And for this sort of experiment, I chose to use the electric smoker partly because I don't have to babysit it this entire time. I can dial in the temperature and just let it go. This is a test. I've never done this before. I know other people have done ribs from frozen and other pieces of meat from frozen. I haven't. And I'm doing it this way to see if I can actually get that rub on there after 1 hour to have it really penetrate and get good flavor in there. So for that reason, the electric smoker that I can set it and forget it is the perfect thing for me to use today. So I'll bring you back when it's time to look inside and see how well they're thawed. Okay, we are 1 hour in, and as you can see, we're making good smoke. So I want to get those ribs checked and see how thawed they are and rub them and get them back in so they can get some more of that smoke. Take the finger test here. Oh yeah, nice and thawed. All right, let's get these out of there and onto the tray. So you can see right here, this one is still a little bit frozen right there, but we can peel it back. That doesn't surprise me. That's that sort of wrinkle that was in there, but everything else is feeling really good. All right, let's get some rub on there. This is just a mixture of things I like. Brown sugar, spicy garlic seasoning, pepper, paprika. Just gonna rub that in. Turn these over, get the back side. You'll notice If you can see, obviously I didn't take the membrane off because it was frozen to it. So this is a rib test with the membrane on. It's rubbed in here. All right, let's get them back in there. Still have plenty of good smoke here after this rub has gotten on. So let's close this up and let them keep going another 2 hours, and then we'll wrap them. So let's see, our smoker temp dropped down from about 220 to what, 174 right now after we had it open, but really only kept it open as long as we needed to. And that's sort of the key, especially with electrics, is don't leave that door open a long time. But it'll build up temperature quickly again, and ooh, that hickory. God, I love hickory. Bring you back when we're ready to wrap these. Just as a little sort of data point here, just about 2 hours and 45 minutes into this, and you can see the amount of smoke has decreased appreciably. So that size of wood chip box, about 3/4 full, you know, as I said at the beginning, will give me about 2.5 hours of smoke, which is fine because I'm not going to need it once it's in foil. But it's good to know that when you've got an electric smoker, how much smoke you'll get for a certain level in that wood box. And like I said, 3/4 full of those hickory chips, it's giving me about 2.5, 2 hours and 45 minutes of smoke, which is fine for me. Smoker temp is holding at 233, and I'm just going to let this keep going. I'll bring you back when it's ready to foil. All right, it is time to wrap these ribs. Ooh, looking good. Good color on them. All right, let's get these out of there. There's these gloves which are holding the foil down. I decided I am going to add a little splash of liquid. It's just going to be a little bit of an orange pineapple soda, just a little bit. Not much at all. Get that back on. Little splash of soda. Get that back in there. Close it up, let it keep cooking. 2 hours in the foil. Now at the end of the 2 hours, I'm going to be unwrapping it and then glazing it with a little bit of barbecue sauce for that final hour or 2 hours. Seems pretty tender right now in terms of where it should be at this point, so could be right on the full 6 hour mark, might push to 7, we'll see. I'll bring you back. Okay, our ribs have had 2 hours in the foil. Let's get them out of there and get some sauce on them. Get this opened up. Ah, looking good. Ooh, good smell off of that from that rub and that orange pineapple soda. Today I'm just going to be hitting this with some Chris and Pitt's original barbecue sauce. Get a good coating on this. Now we'll get this back in. You can see that over here. It's pulling away nicely from the bones. It still needs more time. It's going to be a good glaze on there. You can see that right there. We've got good retraction from the bones already. These are going to go for at least 1 more hour. We'll check them after 1 hour, see how tender they are. All right, so it's been an hour since we glazed them and put them back in. Let's see how they're doing. All right. So I'm going to use the instant read thermometer here to just probe between the bones. Of course, you have to get between the bones here. There we go. I'm going to say it needs a little bit longer. Let's check this one up here. Let's say another 20 minutes. That's what I want to see. See how that goes. Okay, it's been 20 minutes. Let's give these another check. Yes, much better. Just sliding in and out. Much better. Just sliding in and out like butter. All right, I'm gonna get these off. That rack of ribs is looking pretty good. I think I'm ready to cut into this. Since this is a test, we're not gonna try and be pretty here. We're gonna turn it over. It's easier to see where you're gonna cut through. As you can see right here, we have good separation from the bones. Well, let's cut through. All right, let's see. Oh, okay, it looks pretty good actually. Now on the electric smoker, I generally do not get a good smoke ring. There's just not enough volume of smoke in there, but you do get the flavor. Now, if this was on the offset or even on the Weber kettle, we'd get a good smoke ring. Very super minimal smoke ring, almost non-existent. Just barely along there, just below that little bit of bark. But the proof is going to be in tasting this. The proof is in the tenderness and the tasting. I'm curious to see if going from rock solid frozen straight into the smoker without thawing has affected this. I'll be honest with you. Let's see. Here's our rib. Oh, definitely has not affected the taste. Let's see here. Now, this is not quite as tender as I would like it. I can't 100% blame that on going from frozen into the smoker. This may have just needed a little bit more time, or maybe a little bit more time in the foil. Sometimes I'll extend that foil session in the middle of a 3-2-1 method, so it's more like a 2.5 one. But the flavor's really good. So let's try some of the center part here. That's much more tender. It's that end that's not quite as tender. Really good flavor. Really good hickory flavor. It absorbed the smoke. It actually absorbed the smoke a little bit more than usual. Now, I've read before that going with cold meat will sometimes help the penetration of the smoke. I've never really tried that or monitored it. Maybe that's one of the reasons here. Don't have a lot of a smoke ring, but we do have a lot of smoke flavor in here. The rub definitely got in there and gave some flavor after that first hour to soften up the meat. Yeah, I would say this needs more foil time. I would actually go, if you're going straight from frozen, I think I might go 2 hours, 3 hours, 1 hour, do a 2-3-1 method. After that first hour, put the rub on when the meat's softened up enough to accept it, go for another hour, then foil it for 3 hours. And then at the end there, you take it out, you glaze it, you sauce it if you want to. Check it after that last hour, maybe go a little further like I did, 20 minutes more. So this was total 6 hours and 20 minutes. Good flavor though. Really good flavor. So the verdict here is yes, you can smoke frozen ribs. Personally, next time I do it, I'm going to do that 2-3-1 method, 3 hours in foil with a little bit of moisture right in the middle. I think that will tenderize these just a little bit more before you hit it with that glaze the last hour. All in all though, I'd call this a successful test. These are good ribs, not the best ribs I've ever had or made, but they're good ribs. And they can be made even better by doing what I said and changing to the 2-3-1 method. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to check out some of the other videos on my channel and consider subscribing. And if you do, click that bell for notifications. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have a great day. I'll see you again soon.